Howdy and welcome to Gas Valve 101. This is going to be a quick refresher course, just going over the basics of gas valves, voltages, adjustments, things like that. First things first, this is a single stage gas valve. You can tell simply because there's two wires to send the voltage to and from it. We do have an on-off switch. We do have an input measuring port and an output measuring port right here. And then we have the ever important data plate with its information down here. With the sequence of operations and safety switches first and then Haas surface igniter, you will eventually see low voltage sent to our gas valve, allowing it to be held open. You will also notice that that voltage remains constant because the moment our gas valve loses voltage, it will close again. So you see that low voltage remaining constant on that gas valve. Now that we've got the low voltage covered, let's move on to how you actually measure in inches in water column the gas pressure going to the valve and from the valve. First thing you will need is to make sure you have whatever tool is necessary to access it. Now I have the proper tool to access it, but I have not opened it yet. And the reason being is because when I'm doing my input, I do want to make sure that I'm turning the gas off before I open this up, so that when I do loosen this, I'm not just getting hit with a wide open gas valve. Now that we have this piece removed right here, make sure not to lose that. Now that we have that removed, we're going to screw in our adapter piece for our manometer. I've actually pre-twisted it backwards so that when I go to twist it in, I will end up with an unkinked rubber hose, which will allow for proper measurement. Do not over tighten, but do make sure you do have a good tight seal. And now you can see we have an unkinked hose leading all the way back up to our manometer. You are getting a measurement here just from the pressure you've created. So let it settle for a moment, and then once it's settled, zero it out. Alrighty, so it's settled down to a 0.01, but I did go ahead and zero it to a full zero. We're now gonna turn on our gas valve. You're gonna immediately see a reading. Now this will also take a little bit to settle. We see it as settled right around an 11.7. And this is the inlet, which means that we cannot adjust this. We can only say, hey, this is what the inches in water column pressure to the gas valve is. Once you're done here, before removing this piece, again, make sure to shut off your gas valve. You will, when removing this, smell a little bit of gas. That is okay. It will disperse very quickly into the air. I've gone ahead and closed off the access port to the inlet, and we're going to move over to the outlet. I did already remove this one. This one's going to be a little trickier because we're actually going to need this gas valve to turn on in order to get our manometer, which means we're going to have to put it in heat mode. But first, let's go ahead and attach this. Again, with just a little bit of backwards pre-twisting, we now have a kinkless hose leading all the way to our manometer. It is still on P2 because this is the hose we are measuring out of. We're going to be paying attention to this top number to see what the gas valve is actually outputting. It is safe to have the gas valve on once you have closed off this input, but let's go ahead and get the heat on and see what we're getting out of this valve. Our hot surface igniter is on, so we should be getting the gas valve reading here very soon. Now that we've had it running for a little bit, we can see that our inches in water column measurement is actually 3.39, 3.4, which means that that is the amount of gas in inches in water column that this valve is allowing to the burners. Let's compare that with the data tag that is on it. When we compare with the data tag that is on the valve itself, you can see that right here says adjustments between 2.5 and 3.5 inches in water column is the range capable of this gas valve. So the gas valve is good. It is allowing the correct amount. Now what you also need to compare this number to is manifold pressure. Right here, manifold pressure in inches of water column, 3.5. So we are allowing the correct amount of gas to this burner, to this manifold, which is going to create the correct amount of heat. Now, while we have proved that the gas valve is good, we cannot just remove this, as we would be just pumping gas into either the attic or the hallway, wherever we are at. So what we need to do first is actually shut this down. We're gonna do it with this off switch. Simply prevents the gas. As you can see, we have no more gas flowing through that valve. And while this is attempting to restart, we can either shut it down completely or take this out and put that nut back in. Now that we've removed the manometer and reattached this, what we're gonna actually want to do is just get a little bit of bubbles and put some on there to make sure, while it's running, to make sure we don't have any gas leaks coming through the access ports that we just did. Once you've wiped all the bubbles off of that, you are done, and you have tested your gas valve. Before I let you go, I do want to show you one more. This is a two-stage gas valve. As you can see, we have the common here, but then you have the normal and high wires there, which means that you actually are going to have two stages. Now, the testing ports for this one are actually right here and right here. You will actually need this adapter to test these new two-stage White Rogers gas valves. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out.